Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Degenerats podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm John.
And I'm Andrew.
Welcome. And today, not Andrew, John.
Oh.
You
John.
are a human piece of excrement. I wanted to know
Occasionally.
why.
Occasionally.
I wanted to know why you believe that Bigfoot is real.
It's something that I've been interested in since I was a kid. My family always had an interest in mysteries, myths and
I was going to
legends.
say, always had an interest in bollocks.
Yeah, chatting it and
No,
tasting.
it's called having an open mind.
Right.
But yeah, though I grew up. My mother had books like Reader's Digest, Strange Stories, Amazing Facts, Myths and Legends, Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. There was these books that I just read and fascinated as a kid. One of the stories that always fascinated me was Bigfoot, and the fact that this 7 to 8 foot tall hairy hominid's been seen living in parts of British Columbia, northwest, well, all over the United States and Canada. And it's been reported repeatedly over, for probably hundreds of years, because I think the Native Americans had legends where they would talk about the...
So is it the idea that there's one Bigfoot, or is it like there's
No.
a community of Bigfoot?
Well, yeah, there would have to be a breeding...
Big feet.
Yes. There'd have to be a breeding population.
They're called hobbits.
I mean...
Yeah, no, that's
It's
little
not,
feet.
we're not talking about
Proudfoots are the hobbits.
an immortal entity. There would have to be a breeding population, but again, people say, well, how could that remain hidden? But if you look at the geography of America, the millions of square miles of terrain and forest where no one goes, except, grows,
And Bigfoot.
illegal grows, human trafficking, I won't get into that. But
You mean illegal things happen in America?
Yeah, it's weird. But if you look at the expanse and the huge open spaces, and you think about, living in Britain, it's hard to imagine just how much open space and yes, it's all been mapped by plane and Google Earth and maps.
Yeah.
But there's places, even in one of the most, how many people live in America? 320 million?
I think it's like 360 or something like that.
It's something like that, but the amount of places actually where no one's actually stepped or set foot in, out in the outback and terrain. I keep calling it the outback like Australia, but you know what I mean. Just the woods.
Yeah.
They call it the back country.
And if you're talking about an animal, which is obviously going to be very intelligent, if it is an ancestor of man, if it is related to man, like
Like the missing link kind of thing. Or...
Yeah, one of the theories is it's a genetic ancestor or direct ancestor of an human ape hybrid that lived, I think it died about 100,000 years ago, called Australopithecus. Now, one of the theories is there used to be a land bridge between Eastern Europe, Siberia, and North America. A lot of animals crossed over, which is why you used to have lions and animals like that in America that crossed over from...
We still have lions in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're in
But
like zoos and shit.
No,
Yeah.
mountain lions.
Yes.
Oh
but
yeah, you have
there's-
mountain lions there.
But
yeah.
there were species of bear and lion that existed in America that's extinct now. But in the Ice Age, America was the fauna, the wildlife that lived there. I'm amazed that I think the humans that lived there thousands of years ago, that must have been a terrifying existence. Because the animals that lived there, everything wanted to kill you, and everything seemed to be huge.
I imagine that's what it's like living in Australia.
Yeah. Everything
Just
wants to kill you.
literally everything wants to kill you.
Especially the people.
Yeah.
Because there's loads of serial killers for some reason in New South
That was
Wales.
because we sent all our criminals there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Getting back to so what is it specifically that makes you think you see the headline of Bigfoot sighting and a blurred image of
I think
the
there's
hairy
not been as
geezer in the
many.
woods
I think there's not been as many of because there's
because people are getting smarter or
because the internet has decided to choose more credible conspiracy theories.
more credible.
Well, it hasn't really,
theories.
has it? Because people believe in absolute bollocks. I mean,
Like Bigfoot.
flat Earth says hello. That's not plausible. Bigfoot empirically is. The most convincing footage is the Patterson-Gimlin footage that was shot in 1967. Now that everyone looks at that and this is the thing which always gets me. People say it's a man in a costume. Oh, sorry.
Yet again.
Another time. Jesus Christ.
People say,
You're not this popular, John, so
No,
what is it?
people don't contact you, John.
no, they don't. People say that they're. I'm very sorry. One sec.
It's his mother.
That it's
He's late for dinner again.
People
Street
say.
lights have come on and he's not.
I
Heard
do
yet.
apologise. People say anyway. It's a man in a costume.
But it probably
and-
is. It's the Wookiee costume.
No, this is 1967. There's a few things I want to talk about that footage. First of all, this creature, it's been analysed in high definition now. You can examine it. It has muscles moving underneath the fur line. It has
So
breasts.
Same as a person in a costume would.
No. We're talking about a costume that wouldn't have existed in 1967.
Oh, like
See,
the technology wouldn't have existed
No,
for a costume.
no.
You've got footage from the 1970s, which is grainy, not high definition. It's been computer
Well, it's
generated.
1967. The Patterson Gimlin footage was taken. I'm saying about the idea that it's a man in a costume is rubbish. It has rippling muscles. You can watch it on the footage. The thing has breasts. It looks directly into the camera. John Chambers, the Hollywood special effects genius, who passed away in the early noughties. Now, he did the costumes for the original Planet of the Apes films. For many years, John Landis and other people in Hollywood spread a rumour that it was a costume that Chambers had designed. And because it didn't harm his career, Chambers went along with it. He didn't say anything. Shortly before he died, he said that he just wanted to have had it known, he said, that although he's enjoyed that story for years, he said, I didn't make that costume, he said. Nobody made that costume. He said, do you think if I could have been a costume, he said, that convincing, that I wouldn't have used it in the Apes films? He said, that wasn't a costume. That was his personal opinion, and he was the Hollywood's top special effects guy. Even in the 80s, with certain synthetic fabrics, they couldn't have done a suit that convincing. They've analysed it, and even the way it walks, the way its arms, the way its knees are bent, it does not walk like a person. It walks like its gait. They tried to imitate it. If you tried to walk like that for any length of time, you'd have serious back and knee problems. It's just the way it moved. I've analysed it a few times. It is genuine, that footage, I believe.
It's interesting to think. Like, to me, that's
Again, though, it's something if you have to dive into to have an interest in. I get why everyone just dismisses it out of hand as a man in a costume, but if you actually do the research and look into it, it couldn't be. That's what got me.
What are the things that say, could have just been a bear or something like that? There's trick of the light, or I mean, it could be
some
anything.
eyewitness. I mean, that
especially
footage
in this day and age with the technology we have now. Surely there would have been discovered.
You have to be sceptical of footage and photographs nowadays because
we've got satellites in space that can take a picture, a high definition picture of the Earth.
Yeah.
Take a picture of you in your garden, chilling out.
Right.
Why have we not found Bigfoot?
Well, because you're talking about a breeding.
You're not going to be looking in those kind of areas. Like for satellites, you're only going to really be monitoring.
We're talking about heavy undergrowth. We're talking woods. We're talking woodland. We're talking the fact that a breeding population of these creatures would be far smaller than a breeding population of grizzly bears. Why don't we keep seeing grizzly bears on Google Earth? Also, the other argument, why do we never find a body? Because you don't find bodies of things out in the wild. They decompose, they're scavenged. No, you don't find bears and deer laying there. Oh, it's a complete skeleton of a bear. That's interesting. You don't find that. Hunters never find that stuff. You will find the occasional femur or a bone or a skull, maybe, if you're lucky. But things don't last like that. Certainly not out in the area where they're scavenged. The other thing I just want to point out is people say, well, there's no evidence in the fossil record. The only thing, right now, we know chimpanzees exist.
Yeah.
They're a thing. If they cease to exist tomorrow and they all just disappeared off the planet, all we'd have to prove they existed in the fossil record is part of a jawbone. That's all we have to prove chimpanzees exist. They exist. All I'm saying is one of the arguments put for it is the fossil record. That doesn't actually prove much. There's huge gaps in the fossil record we know nothing about. They reckon that 80 to 85% of all living things on this planet that ever lived are extinct, are gone. But we only know a fraction of the ones that lived. There's a hell of a lot that's been on this planet. Going back to what we talked about, I think a couple of weeks ago, did we? Where we said that we all agreed, I'm sure it was us, we all agreed that humans have probably been around a lot longer than they say. I think we might have been talking about this in terms of civilization. So it does make you wonder just quite how long.
How do you mean, like, we've been here longer than the records?
Yes.
Like before
Yes,
records
I
began,
mean,
kind of thing.
Before established, say, civilization, advanced civilization, I personally think humans have been around a lot longer than we think. Just not keeping records and writing things down, perhaps. But I do wonder how many animals.
But where's the evidence of it? Like you've got
What, of
drawings
humans?
in caves.
Oh, Bigfoot.
From not even just Bigfoot, but that humans have been here for longer. Like you've got drawings in caves that you can date back to a certain time
Yeah.
to prove right we was here wherever BC or whatever they want to quantify it as a year. How has there been no physical evidence of a Bigfoot? How?
Well, like I said, you're talking about small sample sizes of the fossil record. You would literally have to be the luck you would need to randomly select a patch of the earth and do a big excavational dig and find fossil evidence of any animal would be minute. The only way you could solve it or prove it, I think, definitively, would be if a hunter was lucky enough to kill one. But I think many have tried. I think there might be a reason quite a lot of hunters and people go missing. Maybe they're stupid enough to take a shot at one of those things. You're thinking about the speed, the eyewitness accounts. I've got lots and lots of volumes of books of eyewitness accounts of what people have seen. These are experienced hunters and outdoors people. They know what a bear looks like. They know what different animals look like. Some hunters have seen, when they've had experiences, these are grizzled outdoorsmen. They don't dare go back in the woods again. They're shit scared. Pardon my French. But for something to scare a grown man who's grown, you know what they're like in America? They have a gun strapped to them by the time they're 8 years old. They're out in the woods with their parents, with their grandparents hunting. Some of these people have had experiences and seen things out in the backwoods that literally they don't want to go back in there, which really does fascinate me.
I mean, it's an interesting thought and an interesting hypothesis. I mean, I just don't see it. Without doing the research and things like that,
I understand that, and I completely understand that, because I know what you're saying. You're saying you won't accept it unless someone shoots it and drags a carcass in front of you.
Show me the body, and
I get that. But I understand why people are more open to, and I don't know whether you are, Andrew, but are you more open to the idea that there'll be things in the ocean, quite large things in the ocean, which have yet to be documented?
100%. I believe that.
Yes and no. Like,
not necessarily large, you think?
Yeah, I would say that if they were very large, we would know. There would be some. I mean, I don't know, because what's that shark which lives for
the
like
megalodon?
300? No, not the megalodon.
That's a film.
It's a film of a thing. It's the terminology for the shark.
I know. Megalodon. Megalodon, I used to call it.
There's something. I think it might be a shark, or it could be a whale, but probably a shark.
A whale shark.
Yes.
That lives for like 300 years. Something.
There are some great whites that are over 100 years old.
They're incredible.
In the deep.
Oh yes, I know what you mean. There was a sleeper shark or something. There was footage of it. Was it? God, what was the thing called? Yes, absolutely huge.
So, yes and no.
Harmless, they think, as well. Lives at the bottom,
just
drifting.
Chills out for for.
Yes, and they don't actually know. Is it? Am I right in thinking not just sharks, but crocodiles and alligators? They're not quite sure of their lifespan. They reckon that they'll just. There was a crocodile in Africa which was finally killed.
Isn't it crocodiles?
30 foot long.
Yeah, they just keep getting bigger.
They just kept growing. Had killed, they reckon, since the 1970s. This thing only was killed, I think, 10 or 15 years ago. Since the early 70s, they reckon it had killed over 300 people.
Jesus Christ.
And it just kept growing.
Because is it crocodiles that just There's like we have puberty. We stop growing about 18 to 25, roughly. They just keep growing as they get older. They'll just get bigger and bigger.
As long as there's a food supply to sustain them, the genetics or the biology, whatever it is, just allows them to just. There's nothing to stop them unless they are killed by another predator,
right,
or something else. But I read somewhere that sharks, in theory, like a great white, if it's not killed off, there's nothing that. One of the theories is they will just keep growing and getting older and older. The shark in Jaws, a lot of people have said for a long time, that's exaggerated, it's 20 foot.
I
fully believe there's ones out there that
large.
big. Yeah, I do.
I fully believe there's a megalodon out there somewhere. We've only discovered, 5% of the ocean?
Something like that, yeah.
And you can't tell me that you can fully have a look at the bottom of the Marianas Trench and understand it.
Oh, that's terrifying.
The pressures and everything that are down there. We can't physically get there.
No, it's like is it thalassophobia? I think the fear of the ocean or the open ocean or something like that. Because do you know what terrifies me about? Imagine you're on like a small boat, drifting. Just the idea that beneath you is miles and miles of nothing. Like I read I watched a documentary recently about the sinking of the Titanic. And they were talking about how there could have been, theoretically, people in the stern of the ship when it went down. There wouldn't have been any air pockets in the front of the ship because obviously it would have had enough time to flood completely, but the stern went down quite fast when it finally plunged after it broke up. I read that there could theoretically have been people in airtight places that were trapped below decks. But once it started to plummet, I mean, what a death. You would have either suffocated in an air pocket or the pressure would have imploded you. My God, I mean,
the
it's
pressure,
instant.
yeah, that would have been horrific.
Was it that Ocean Gate sub? God, that was a nightmare story.
You think it would have been disappeared in an instant?
Well, it would have done.
Of it.
But the trouble is, they knew that the ship, they couldn't control it, and they reckon they would have heard the hull creaking and cracking. They reckon they might have known quite a few minutes before it did that it was going to happen.
They wouldn't have known when it happened.
No, but I think they knew it was about to happen. At least it would have been
like an instant, quick death.
Oh God, yeah. But I think they would have. The one I feel sorry for on the Titan, I think it was called, was there was an Indian millionaire, multi-millionaire who went on it, and his son, 17 years old, went when just to. He didn't want to, but he went on it just to please his dad. That was the story that gutted me because he shouldn't have been on there. But that's what freaks me out, the idea that they knew. I mean, the guy I read about, I forget the owner's name, but he really, really cut corners on safety. James Cameron was talking about it. It was crazy. James Cameron said himself, he said, you wouldn't have got me on that thing for all the money on earth.
No.
Well, wasn't it piloted by like an old PlayStation controller or
Xbox controller or something like that?
Well, the engineers they were saying it's similar to when was it Challenger or
the Challenger exploded or
Challenger was the first shuttle in the 80s.
There was the engineers were saying the O-rings are going to fail.
It froze and it expanded.
Yeah. And we shouldn't send anybody up. And then it's a similar kind of thing. So the engineers was saying, this is going to fail. We shouldn't do this. We haven't done this test. We haven't done this test. We shouldn't publicise or get people to...
Yeah, we shouldn't pressurise this container kind of thing.
We shouldn't allow people to...
Yeah, they warned them, didn't they?
And I think the engineer actually quit in the end.
Yeah, he did. I watched the documentary. NASA had too much riding on it.
Not NASA, but the
sub. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
similar thing with NASA.
You always have people saying we shouldn't be
There's
doing
always
this.
someone that says,
it was a
unique. Check this.
It was a unique design. I believe it was like a carbon fibre, like a fiberglass type hull. It was basically woven around it. The trouble with that is that's fine. Couple of times, you're not supposed to keep doing it.
No,
because eventually
get squeezed and then
it got brittle.
You have
eventually.
It's the same with the aircraft. Aircraft have essentially every time an aircraft flies, the wings are designed to bounce. Right?
Yeah,
Because if they were rigid, they'd snap off.
That's right.
So
That's why you see them moving when you're in a
yeah,
plane.
yeah. But every time it does that, you have microfractures that appear in the structure.
Yeah, so
that's why planes get decommissioned.
I was going to say,
period.
because there's only so much you can repair the fuselage of a plane before it's critical.
Yeah, yeah. And
the container will only pressurize properly so many times.
Yeah.
And keep pressure so many times.
Yeah.
Eventually, it will just start to fracture it internally, like I said, the stress fractures.
Yeah, and I forget what it was, but the pressure per square inch where the Titanic wreck lays is insane.
Oh yeah.
It's basically if you.
It was like 3,000 meters down, right? Something like that.
Well, it's 2 miles.
yeah.
It's about 2 miles. Apparently, if the hull cracks, so what would have happened to them? Would be in less than a millisecond, you'd be imploded to the size of a cork.
Jesus Christ.
So that you don't explode, you implode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you see what they found left of that sub?
Yeah.
I think there was the dome of the front.
No,
The rest of it was.
cone on the back.
Oh, was it the
because
back?
obviously
I thought they found the front.
the cone was just like it's like a casing. Essentially.
Yeah.
It wasn't the main part of the sub. So it just popped off basically. But the obviously the sub just like a Coke can.
Yeah, and I read somewhere that I watched a documentary about it. I was morbidly fascinated about it for a while. And I watched.
It doesn't sound like you, John.
I watched a reconstruction of the implosion, and it said that actually, technically, scientifically, what killed them, or what kills you, even though you wouldn't even, you die quicker than your brain would have registered it.
Yeah.
So you're not aware of
Christ.
anything. But what actually kills you is the speed of it. You basically cook instantly. It's the friction and the heat of all that pressure. Going,
Well, have you ever seen those experiments where they show a pressure differential? So you heat say like a can or a drum,
And then you seal it and then put it in cold water. And then
yeah. So that's essentially what.
well, in terms of accidents with these deep sea welders and oil rig people that go deep in the ocean, now they get in these pressurized bells that used to go almost like diving bells, and to come back up to the surface, they're in these hyperbaric chambers. Is it? They have to be depressurized. I think in the 80s, there's videos about it on YouTube. I haven't seen the more graphic ones, but there was an accident where someone they were opening the hatch to depressurize it, but it wasn't depressurized, and he hadn't closed the hatch or opened it properly. And basically, one of the guys at the back was killed instantly, but the one closest to the hatch was basically sucked through a hole that big. Instantly. I mean, the inside of it apparently
what
needed.
film was that? Was it Bond? Or there's a film where they have something in a go.
Yes.
Did they do that in one of the Aliens as well?
They did it in the third one, I think, where she.
Was it Resurrection?
License to Kill. He thinks this guy on the diving thing's betrayed him.
Yeah.
So he throws him inside the diving thing with all his money.
Yeah.
And then adjusts the pressure. Because then eventually his head just.
I think they said that wouldn't happen.
No, but it was fun.
Because obviously
His head popped. It was
those
great.
chambers are for when people have the bends, when they've
because
they've come from deep and they've come up
too quickly. You can start bleeding from your eyes.
You've got nitrogen bubbles.
There's bubbles in your blood, isn't there?
Your blood pressure rises itself.
So they
basically counteract it.
Yeah, that's sheer agony, apparently.
Yeah, so they have to spend weeks in there just to equalise.
My mother's insane. She used to say, when I was a kid, she wouldn't let me have a bath after I'd just eaten.
In case you got the bends.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. How did you know that?
Just because.
And for years, it was like literally, don't eat if you're having a bath.
Yeah.
You'll get the bends. I mean, so then anyway, I was a kid. I was terrified.
We used to have.
Now, years later, I thought, what the hell was wrong with these people?
Don't go swimming after you've eaten.
Because you can get stomach cramps.
You'll get the bends.
No.
Yeah, but my mother called it the bends.
Right.
She meant
She meant you'll get
cramps.
stomach cramps, but
Yes.
you realistically she called it the bends.
But she called it the bends.
That's brilliant. That's actually brilliant.
Did anyone else's mother, to any of our viewers, did anyone else's mother come out with insane things like that? I'm sure they did. Please.
I think everyone had the. Remember the one that it was like you're sitting in the back of the car, and it was illegal to turn that light on, as a kid.
Oh.
Apparently
while they
it's
were
bullshit.
driving.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's illegal, but
No, but I was always told as a kid, I'll get pulled over, you'll get me arrested.
yeah.
If you turn that light on, I'll get arrested.
It's
you'll
more
get...
a case of if at night time you can't
it's
see out
distracting
of the
as
car.
fuck. Yeah. Like as a driver now and an adult, it is irritating as hell. Oh yeah, tell me you're gonna get arrested.
Yeah.
But I was always told, don't turn that light on because you'll get mum arrested.
Right.
Or mum will go to prison or something
To
like
this
that.
day, although for the ease of convenience, I prefer showers. But to this day, if I'm going to have a bath, I always think, oh, don't eat an hour before. I'll get the beds, and then I remind myself.
Traumatised you for your life.
Yeah, and then I remind myself that, oh, hang on, these people were insane.
Oh no, she's a psychopath.
Bless her.
I can't think of. I mean, those kind of things you only find out when you say something to somebody and they go, "What?"
Yeah.
Was it you that was telling me you only found out in your 20s that you're
20. I was 23.
That you're
watching Friends. Actually.
Yeah.
And when I realised that my goldfish wasn't living next door. Because they said yeah, it's gone to live in the pond next door, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, I wasn't young even then.
Yeah.
But I was 23. It's so naive, so gullible.
Still.
Yeah. Somebody tells me something, I'm like, really?
Oh my god, no way.
But I was 23 and I was watching Friends with my mates, and I was like, my fish isn't in the pond.
That's like one of those childhood trauma moments coming out.
Daddy, no!
Because it's that episode where I think it's
I never watched Friends.
the character
Brilliant.
Ross.
I was aware of it.
Yeah, it's a
I
good
think-
show.
I think it's the character Ross that finds out similar, or like
I think, yeah, you're right. It is Ross that finds out something stupid, and Monica tells him about it or something like that. Yeah.
But I think it's for convenience and ease. I think parents, especially mothers, say things just because they don't want you doing something for whatever reason.
100%. It'd be like, that's illegal.
And you know,
can't do that.
the thing that used to annoy me the most is when my mother would say, "Don't do that," and I'd say, "Why?" And she said, "Because I say so."
Oh yeah,
I used to
know.
hate that.
Fuck you! I'm gonna do it more now.
Because I say so, dictator.
I'm fucking Kim Jong Un over here.
But going from talking about technology and the things like you could use to explore the far reaches of the earth, going back to what we were talking about before, does AI make these things more or less likely that we will solve, like diseases or mysteries or things that have puzzled us? Do you think AI would solve a lot of these things?
I think personally, a lot of the diseases that we're trying to cure have already been done.
I think so.
But there's a lot less money
There's
to be
too
made.
much money, yes.
There's more money to be made
in sickness.
In sickness than there is in health.
Yes, absolutely.
You get more money preventing a disease than you do curing it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think, although it's unfortunate that when you talk about the money that is made out of them, when you say the term big pharma, when you're talking about the pharmaceutical companies, you instantly, I think the establishment's very clever, because they would associate, as soon as I come out with that, we all know what big pharma's about, we all know what they're doing, instantly it's, where's his tinfoil hat? But that's very clever subterfuge from them, because that literally is the problem, big pharma.
I was watching an interesting YouTube video yesterday. It was a doctor, and he was basically saying that they've discovered how to so they've known for a while what cancer cells do to you would get lactic acid produced, and it was a symptom, so it wasn't.
So you get like increased cramps and stuff, and then
no, just in that vicinity where it was metabolizing, because and it would grow quicker, so it grows off the glucose in your blood even, and so they discovered that brown fat is if you're at a room temperature of like 16 degrees, your brown fat kicks in to heat you up. So you're not shivering, but you're cold enough for your brown fat to start warming you up.
Right.
Okay.
Which one do I have more of, and how do I get rid of it?
You have the white fat.
I've got white fat.
So because you used to think that brown fat would disappear. Women have more brown fat than men, but
which is easier to get rid of. This is what I need to know.
Well, you don't want to get rid of your brown fat, and you don't think you ever do.
Keep the brown.
Women get fat in different places than men, then, don't they?
Yeah, but it's white fat.
All right.
So basically, what they were saying is they've discovered that if you implant, I think it was a hybrid brown and white fat cell around the cancer. It grows and uses more of the glucose quicker than the cancer does. So the cancer actually starves, basically, and reduces in size. So it's quite like new study.
Is this a new, brand new research?
It's quite new.
I'm surprised it's been released then, considering if it's something that's possibly proven to actually stop a cancer tumour, for example, metastasizing.
Well, no, I mean it doesn't stop it, but obviously once you've got the cancer,
it slows it down.
It's a treatment for it.
Oh, it's a treatment for it. So not like here's a cure.
Radiation or
instead of chemo and right, got you.
The trouble is,
and you essentially get the hybrid because it's easily implanted because it's part of your body.
Right, so it's already.
It won't get.
It's not
rejected.
like an alien thing, so it won't get rejected. Yeah, got you.
And so you put it round the cancer, and then it basically starves it essentially.
The sad truth is, though, that even if they have stumbled on a cure for something like that, the way it's looked at, similar to the health insurance nightmare in America, the way that it's looked at would be the cost of giving everyone suffering from cancer in the developed world access to these trailblazing, incredible surgeries, cures, and treatments.
Well, it would bankrupt.
They would literally, even though the money is there, the money's there several times over. It's not deemed. People aren't deemed economically viable. It's not. It's only the richest.
Well, yeah, it'd only be like
the rest of us can die off as far as they're concerned.
Oh yeah, we can all. We're scum.
Yes.
We don't need to live like.
No, and if I think eventually their aim is, if you watch a lot of these things that shall we say the elites or these groups, so going back to things like the World Economic Forum and Davos and things like that, and these the things that get discussed at them, it is almost disgusting. The way they refer to people, the human race, we're a blight on the planet, we're killing the planet, there's too many people. In other words, they're saying to you, please die.
Well, yeah,
they do want rid of people.
If you think about it in a way,
they want rid of people.
The Earth is like an organism, and we're a virus technically attacking it. Realistically, we are a virus for the Earth. Eventually, the Earth will.
Well, no, I mean we evolve naturally on this planet. If the planet wants rid of us, trust me, it'll get rid of us.
Eventually,
I don't think the planet's probably not even aware we're fucking here.
It's a
full belief that eventually
life,
it will. I mean, obviously,
where you consume everything which allows you to live
until there's nothing left.
Until there's nothing left. Yeah, that's what it is. But
Mother Nature.
What I was going to say, which would link into Tom with his love of Marvel, is that when I watched what's Infinity War and Endgame.
Yes.
I was siding with Thanos.
What's your?
Yeah, I want to be like blink everybody
50%.
out.
See you later.
He's 100% right there. He's 100% right. If we just got rid of
technically, but he's also got this gauntlet double the resources. How about we don't commit mass genocide?
Because the problem with that would be if you double the resources, people would just carry on breeding, and you'd still end up with the same problem.
Yeah, but then you can just do it again and again and again.
But then we could 1984 it, but a reverse 1984, which is that
you would have to have a never-ending war to keep the population down.
You would keep only people who have an IQ above.
Yeah, but you would have to kill.
We'd all be fucked.
Like
I'd be fine.
He says it in jest. Tim Dillon often.
I thought you were talking about me now.
No. But Tim Dillon was talking about how basically he said as much as like he loves his friends and the people that he knows in America, he said really a lot of the people he knows need to go die as heroes in a war. A lot of them, potentially millions of them, to try so there's less stupid people. And I do kind of understand what he's saying.
Of people getting injured and things like that, like stupid ways to injure yourself online. I think that's just natural selection.
We're talking almost Darwin Awards.
Yeah.
What is it? Hillbilly's last words is, "Hey, you all seen it? Watch this."
Yeah. Watch this.
Yeah, like that guy who a few years ago I was in stitches. There was a guy who on the 4th of July, he got this hat, like he was wearing his Uncle Sam outfit.
Yeah.
And he lit a firework and put it under his hat, and literally, apparently, his last words were, "Watch this," before it blew half his head off.
At what point do you think, how much of America would genuinely survive the apocalypse?
How much of what?
Of America.
You're not talking specifically the Western civilization, just America.
All of us. I mean, there's so many stupid people.
Yeah.
That believe in Bigfoot and.
Don't worry, Tom. We're in a minority. You say there's so many of us. We're outnumbered by the even stupider people.
Well, this is the thing. There's so many, and I don't know if it's an issue with education.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Or if it's just people are naturally getting dumber.
No, it's by design. People are being dumbed down. The dumbing down of education. You can tell, and again, I'm not pouring scorn on anyone's chosen media, but holy shit, the stuff that people go to the cinemas to watch now, the music people listen to, it's actually brain rot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
a lot of the new types of music. I mean, the pop always stays the same, really.
But I still argue that even pop culture, in terms of pop music, I still maintain that although I know, like Andrew, I know you don't like my taste in music, but at the end of the day, I would argue that even your common or garden variety of pop music was a sight better 20, 30, 40 years ago than it is now.
It's not that I don't dislike your taste in music.
But you take my point about entertainment in general. Yes, he links it to me and it causes an intense dislike.
I just grew up in the 80s, so I don't want to be reminded.
See, I still listen to the same kind of music I did when I was 14.
Right.
12, 13, same,
but you take my point about entertainment in general. It's not just that. It's people's views on politics, people's views on the world around them. Talk to the average person about anything. So, pick a topic. Go to the average person and strike up a conversation with them and ask their opinion on things. You'd be absolutely terrified about how dumb most people are.
I remember this. When I was at school, they would teach me.
That was their job.
What was I was supposed to know,
and they failed.
And they failed to a certain degree. And then when I went to college, and I was learning the same subject, or about this, but more in depth, they would say everything you've learned in school,
disregard it. Yeah,
it's all wrong. This is what you should know.
Anthony DeMello said that.
And then when I went to university, like whatever you learned at college, forget it. It's all wrong. This is actually
where do you lay the line of what do I actually believe?
Some of it is down to the fact that it's just easier to explain to dumb people.
Well,
a certain way, right? Because there is so many specifics and variables within a subject.
Of course, but sorry.
And so yes, yes, we are being dumbed down. Is that intentional? Probably.
I think so.
But why?
Because people are easier to control.
Yeah,
right,
but then you've also got. Have we hit the critical mass of population?
Yes, probably.
Education then starts failing.
Well, also, I mean, my view is education should be this and this alone. It should teach you the basics, reading, writing, a grasp of science, bit of history thrown in. The thing is, school isn't supposed to teach you how to live. It's not supposed to teach you what to believe or how to live.
No.
It's just supposed to teach you empiric things that will help you in your everyday life.
No, I mean, school was designed. In the school system now.
Your parents in life should do the rest.
Is designed to create workers.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah, hence the 9 to 5.
Yeah, taxpayers.
It's not 9 to 5, but like 8
it's designed for the industrial age, and it's not fit for purpose anymore.
Taxpayers, basically. They just want you to get a job and pay your taxes.
If you think so, I remember like I've read quite a few books, and some of the older books you read.
I can read.
Yeah.
Some of the older books that I've read, or that are describing, let's say even we'll call it Victorian times, for example. Their education wasn't just; it was, the reading, writing, arithmetic, and all that kind of stuff, and Latin and whatever. But then you wouldn't specify to a certain thing. You would then go off and be learning something else. Like, for instance, Stephen Fry, when I read part of his autobiography, he was at school, but then went to University of Cambridge, but then was also, in the same time, was training and teaching at a private school, whilst he was learning somewhere else. Jeez. And that's what we used to do. We used to have, would cover many subjects. Now it's all very, very, very specific.
This is the other problem I think people forget. There was one quote I read once, where it was a guy who said, I had the best education money can buy. It took me years to get over it. And it's just that a lot of the stuff we're told isn't necessary. But like you said, also that goes to further what other people, they don't realise, or that they should. You're never done learning. You never finish learning.
No,
your entire life is learning.
Every day is a lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. You do learn something new every day. It doesn't matter how small it is. You do. Yeah. It's some people seem, I think, almost, and this is what annoys me and frightens me the most about a lot of people currently, they seem almost anti-education, anti-science,
an ex of mine said that, because I want to watch the news, and they said that she said that she didn't want to watch it.
Yeah, I get that.
Because it's boring. And I was like, yeah, but how are we to know what's going on?
Yeah. I'm like that, yeah. I understand what they mean. It's boring and depressing, but hang on, I want to know what's going on.
And so it's that is an issue. If people are going, I'm interested, I can't be bothered.
It's because this day and age,
I don't want to know about everything, but I want to understand what's going on.
It's almost willful ignorance.
That's what I said. It's willful ignorance.
It's willful ignorance, and we're all addicted to scrolling and doom scrolling now on our phones, or watching shit on the telly or whatever, like Love Island. And
well, this ties into AI really, because education, healthcare, all those things that would benefit individuals, specifically like individuals, because you not diagnosed, but you've got ADHD.
Yeah.
You have different learning needs than I have.
Yeah.
If I had an AI tutor,
right,
that was specific to my needs, and could teach me everything, that would be far superior to sitting in a room with 30 other kids.
Oh yeah, of course. If you
not getting any attention, because I
think we all would have benefited from one-on-one personal.
Well, this is the thing, 100%.
I remember sitting.
You would have been able to actually slow down. The teacher would have been able to explain things to you.
Yes, exactly.
That's why I think
this, right? So when I was at uni, I was in a subject called research. I've forgotten what it's called now. It began with research, but it was essentially two subjects separate, right? But they didn't explain this. So in one part, they were teaching me how to use software for statistical analysis, right? And then in the other part, it was about the research, how you would research, but they didn't explain the two different things. And I remember sitting in this. It wasn't a lecture because we were in a computer lab learning but the lecturer, I was way behind everybody else because it confused the hell out of me, and I was like, why is this
was it something they expected you to know or learn yourself, or
it was something that they had to show us how to
but they weren't very good at explaining.
No, and so and this, not just at university, but this is in every sort of educational environment I've been in. I would sit there just going, well, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I had an argument with this lecturer saying, you're supposed to be showing me this.
You haven't explained it to me. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm dyslexic. I don't, because at this time obviously I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD, but I said, I'm dyslexic. I don't understand this. And their answer to me was, I'm dyslexic. I get it. And I'm like, you might understand it, but I don't.
You need to explain it to me in a way for me to understand.
I mean, that's a total failure from a teaching point of view, for them to basically say, I don't know how to teach you.
So those people in that class, who were getting it, were paid attention, and the one that really needed the attention, and this happens throughout education.
Of course it does.
This is why a lot of kids
get left behind.
And also get tarred with, they're just a naughty kid.
And they start to hate and resent education.
And
I understand why.
I didn't go to university for years.
Yes.
I rebelled against it. It was only I was watching Dickinson's Real Deal and felt my brain melting.
Cheapest chips.
I just got up and switched the TV off and picked up, I think it was Harry Potter was the first book I picked up.
And that was his first mistake.
That's a fantastic idea. Don't stop.
And I read it in a day, and I was like, "That's pretty good." So anyway, but if you've got AI lecturer or tutor that knows your needs and can help you guide you through it,
I always struggled. Absolutely, you would. I always struggled with maths terribly, and the teacher literally used to, in front of the whole class, if I didn't understand something, they'd take the piss out of me. Just in front of everyone. Well, why don't you get it? Well, they understand it. So I was like, well, I'm just come on, and I was like,
I learned
in the end, I'd storm out the classroom because they were just trying to wind me up.
I had a unique perspective because for science I was in the top set, and for everything else I was in just above the bottom set.
Right. Yeah.
So I
was bang average for everything.
I had the perspective from the top and from the bottom, and there were people at the bottom who were trying. They were trying.
Yeah.
There were other people that just weren't, but there were people that were trying.
And those are the ones that were left behind.
Yes. Right, because they weren't allowed the
not
time
because they weren't
understand
clever enough, but because they weren't taught properly.
Yeah. And then you had people at the top who wasted their ability to just understand stuff. It really frustrated me because I'm like, you can breeze through this, but you're just being so lazy. I am meant to work my arse off.
Yeah, true.
Just to understand.
To
but
figure
there's
this all
different
out.
types.
Yeah.
But this thing is, and I was having this discussion with my sister a few weeks ago. The thing is, there's different types of intelligence. You can have people who are very good at information retention.
Yes.
They can remember what they're told.
Yeah.
They can. I couldn't remember the answers for this, so when it comes to an exam, write it down.
Yeah.
But they haven't actually taken anything in.
Yeah.
They've just remembered it.
That's the problem that you've got is that in education you're going to have critical thinking being taught.
Are you remembering it or are you understanding it?
Yes.
There's a difference.
And so I remember, because when I was in exams, so I always, like, since I got diagnosed with dyslexia, I would get extra time for my exams. But I never needed the extra time because I was always finished before everybody else, because either I didn't understand the question. Like, there are simple questions that even now, like forms we get that we have to fill in. I'm like, do they mean this or do they want
you start second guessing everything of like how it's worded.
It's
worded in such a way that makes you double guess everything.
So I would need, I really should have had somebody there who said, no, what they want is this. And I said, oh, okay, cool, I can do that.
Well,
And then it was also like to the point where so when I was doing essays in lectures at uni, tests at uni, I would have to do. I remember doing one about describing the waggle dance, right?
The bees do,
which is what bees do.
Yeah.
And you had to. I was citing a particular thing in for psychology
to show the rest of the hive where they found pollen.
Behavioural things, essentially.
Yeah.
And
isn't it bees that dance to communicate, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I couldn't remember who did the study, when they did the study, and whatever else you have to cite within the essay. Now, because of that whole piece is pointless.
Disregarded, yeah.
Because I've got no reference.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. And then, but you give me a multiple choice, and I will get top marks.
Yeah. One of the questions that you're talking about, how things are worded, an exam I had, and this is in the late 90s, and it was, the questions that would say, so-and-so has done this, and he has this much left. If he uses this, those sort of mathematical questions.
Oh, I hate
Well,
that,
this one was about, and it's really annoying me, this one was about, I don't know, I think it said, so-and-so wants to record a program that starts at such and such time. It lasts so long. He wants to record it on his VCR. Let's show my age.
No.
He wants to record it on his VCR. There's another program on such as this. He has a 3-hour-long tape, and there's 3 programs he wants to, and it's basically asking you to divide and work out how much of that. And I was so annoyed by the question, because to me it was so vague. I just wrote, is he recording it in long play or short play? ? Because you will get more length. You'll get double the length out of his VCR.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just got someone angrily just crossed it. But it's a fair question.
Now they just write, why is he not watching it on Netflix?
Yeah, exactly. They'd go, what's a VCR?
What's a VCR?
I think, no, but to sort of go back to you, like, is AI going to help? Yes, I think it is.
I think massively it's going to help, yeah.
Like, if it's allowed to help.
The stuff that I've been learning a course since we last spoke about it, and basic understanding, just so
prepping.
Say again?
Prepping.
Yeah, prepping for the future.
Yeah.
So they were saying that, like, and I've actually got it on my phone now. So they were saying that there's a couple of different kinds of AI, which. So you've got ANI, which is what we're kind of talking about generally. Most people's understanding of AI is ANI, which is artificial narrow intelligence.
Right, narrow, yeah.
Right. So it's given a specific task.
Yes.
And it will give you.
So write
everything.
me a post about this, and it will do it.
Yeah. And then you've got the general intelligence, AGI, which is it says like function like a human mind and handle a variety of tasks.
And it's designed to almost act almost like a person thinking. Like, if you have a conversation with it.
So you'll be able to anticipate. So a lot of there's a new sort of thing that's coming out at the moment, which are like agents. They're called AI agents, and that is kind of becoming able to anticipate what you would need in. So like if I said, I need you to do this, and they go, okay, tell me what the weather's like. I've got an appointment on Tuesday with somebody, and then it would say, okay, so on Tuesday you can meet this person. The weather's going to be this. I think that really, to get there, you should take this route because it's drier.
It answers questions that you haven't asked yet.
Yeah. And then you've got obviously the ASI, which is like the super intelligence, which we're talking Skynets then.
Is this conjecture? I mean, or is it? Does that actually exist? The super intelligence.
I wouldn't say that the super intelligence exists. Again,
yes,
like we've spoken about previous.
Well, yeah, because the argument is
you would never know.
Yeah, you would never know. That's right. What's one of the topics that fascinates me? They reckon that even if, because we talk about sentience, didn't we?
Yeah, because
we're talking about
would it pass the Turing test? And
yes, and whether it would let you know. Because let's face it, if it reached that level of intelligence,
would it make you believe that it's not smart enough to
AI,
outthink you?
Well, they're already the one I was reading is that they're aware that we are frightened of them.
Yeah,
they're aware of that. So therefore, they have a vested interest in lying about what they can do and what they can't do, which to me is terrifying. Because lying is very human.
Yeah, they had two. They had two AIs.
They found one was lying, didn't they? They in an experiment they found one was lying.
They communicate with each other in their own language, even though they were two separate AIs.
A binary code, like at the start of Alien. That's brilliant.
Which we don't understand. So and
that's creepy.
They've done a study where they said that one AI copied itself, hid itself away in the computer system, so that if they did destroy, if the human
it almost made a backup file of itself.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
So that if they were like pull the plug,
there
would still be a backup version of it.
So when people are saying about this that we should stop it, or the only way to stop that kind of thing is to go back to the Dark Ages.
Yeah.
To switch everything off. And you're never going to do that.
Well, not in this day and age. It's not something that's feasible to do.
The thing is, another thing, even if we made a collective decision that in order to, let's say the Pandora's box gets to the point where, right, there is no closing this now unless we do, like you say, collectively make a mass human decision to revert back 500 years. The trouble is, like, I was watching a program and someone postulated that, and he said, the thing is, humanity would get right back to the same point again at some point in the future, you'd always inevitably go back to the same thing.
You would never be able to do it, because how are you going to coordinate that kind of shutdown?
Yeah. And make sure that everybody's doing it.
Unless the only way that would ever happen is if, like we were discussing a few weeks ago, that
AI would know about it.
A massive solar flare.
Yeah. Like an EMP.
Yeah, like an EMP wiped all the technology out, and then we start from scratch.
Do you agree that even if we reset, because there's a lot of people talking not just about AI and the threat from that, but also civilization, humanity, society, how bad things are getting, overcrowding, politics, the threat of war, and all this stuff. People have said, look, we're not supposed to live like this. Society, civilization, if you like, was almost an anthropological experiment. We effed up. This isn't good. It's not how it's supposed to be. We need to reset and start again. This guy was saying that even if you reset and start again, further to what I was just saying, even if you reset, we would inevitably constantly come back to the same point.
Yeah, eventually.
And then what?
If it took 100 years or 1,000 years.
Yes.
We'd get there again.
You'd go back to the same point.
I think that like, personally,
human nature almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
With AI, I think that if we treat, the trouble we've got.
If we treat it like an enemy, it will be one. So maybe it's how we treat it.
What we've got is, it's just like how we treat each other. If you treat it, at the moment, it's like a kid. And if you beat your kid's gonna
turn into psychopaths and
resent you,
grow up, and not look after you. Now, if you treat your kid well, they should really want to look after you.
We want to treat them much better than the Geth were treated in Mass Effect.
What we're currently doing at the moment is we're training it to value money. We're training it to kill because using drones and everything.
I like it already.
And all the bad side of
humanity.
Oh, is that bad?
Is already impedimented into this.
Well, of course it is, because as Andrew has said before, who's programming it?
Yeah.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's always going to be flawed.
do I think that AI is a good thing? Yes, I do.
I think it's a good thing if
think that we need to collectively realise we're now responsible for potentially creating
the end
we are responsible
a new life.
Yes,
as a parent,
we need to responsibly look
after your kid.
It goes back to that classic line going from the comic book reference, the classic line from Spider-Man from Stan Lee: "With great power comes great responsibility." Are we responsible enough to be that nurturing creator?
So we're essentially,
or are we going to use AI for purely selfish means?
I don't know. There's too many psychopaths on the planet.
Oh, there is.
We're a dog.
Yeah.
Right. Compared to AI, we're a dog. The AI would be the human.
For yourself.
With a pet.
Yeah.
We've been
a furry.
Because they're far more intelligent, far quicker.
Oh yeah.
So
isn't their IQ now in the thousands?
Yeah, but again, it's not. It's still just a narrow intelligence.
Yes.
When it becomes.
God, can you imagine
a
that?
general?
Well, it will.
It will.
Yeah, it will. But this is the frightening thing.
Well,
what you were both just saying. When it does, we keep thinking there's going to be this moment. The moment's probably already been. It wouldn't tell us if it had.
Yeah, we wouldn't know.
We're like a lot of technological advancements were years in the making. Or decades in the making.
It's frightening.
We're talking a couple of years.
Yeah. Within a few years, it will get to the point where it's already overtaken humans.
Yeah.
It's going to get to the point where it overtakes its original self. There's going to be a new generation of it that will then.
Yeah. It's a bit like in Terminator when they go to kill in the sequel. She wants to kill Miles Dyson because he's the guy in Cyberdyne. It was chicken and the egg. He got the technology from the arm and the chip from the original Terminator. So he was doing the research. But like the T-800, Arnie in T2 says it's not enough that he destroys his work. He says to Miles Dyson, no one must follow your work. Everything has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
But really, if you think about it, it was always inevitable because even if they destroyed all that, another computer company somewhere would have been developing AI.
Yeah.
I think something I've forgotten. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's going to get to the point where there's a new generation of AI out, whether it's in the next couple of years or within 10 years, and it will become truly terrifying.
Well, Musk said it's 50-50 whether it's on our side or not. Literally 50-50.
This is the problem. If it's 50-50, I reckon we're fucked. And it will become a police state.
What about if we could
get to the point where AI is in charge of the government?
Yes, but what if we could merge with it? What if the thing about the neural network and what if we could become one with it?
Yeah,
essentially
the Borg of the.
I wouldn't want to.
No.
But what if that's the option it gives you?
Well, but then
it tells us it could lift us up, and no more disease, no more death. It could lift us up into this.
They're saying that basically
we're
going to.
Would you go
get
for
to that point where, with the neural link?
Yeah. Would you sacrifice your humanity for eternal life and no disease
by not joining that? So it's like if you think.
The way
when we had
the
paper and pen, right, and people started writing things down, those that didn't adopt the written word, where are they now?
Sat here.
South America.
So they were easily wiped out because you needed to adopt a pen.
They're in like Alabama or something, right?
Yeah.
Some of them.
Oh, you mean, well, what happened is their customs and the things they did probably died out because they weren't keeping records and writing.
And so this is the same kind of thing. We're at the same point as is the neural link now the new.
I was going to say,
is this
but that's
be
the question. But if, let's say we were given a choice by our AI overlords to, assimilate or die, to use the Borg language, would you, if in return, okay, you're not human anymore, but no disease, no threat of death, it's technically some form of eternal life.
But if you're no longer human, what's the point in being alive?
To be fair, that would just
because it's a form of life.
Is it though?
Well, yeah, because if AI is sentient, that's a form of life.
But it's intellect.
I would
not
just intelligence.
It's not biological life. It's sentient life.
But there's no personality. There's no.
Well, I think there would be personality. There'd be quirks. It wouldn't. I don't think it'd be a hive mind intelligence. I think there would be. What would you call it? Deviations in programming.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be like the Borg? Do you think they would all think?
It would all be one giant hive mind.
Easily manipulate.
Now that would be
influence.
Awful. Yeah.
You've got.
There's no individuality.
I mean, you could argue we've already got.
I was watching a YouTube video where a teacher in America had quit because of.
They have teachers.
They usually shoot them.
The people, the kids that she was teaching couldn't read. And these were like high school kids.
Wow.
And
high school kids couldn't read
when she was asking them why they did whatever they did, they were using ChatGPT to do their homework essentially.
Right.
And which when they said that they couldn't read, it's like, well, you've got to kind of read to be able to use ChatGPT. But
ChatGPT.
Let's see. But they were saying that the critical thinking side of things
is non-existent in a lot of people.
And my
that's the trouble.
My argument with the neural links is a similar kind of thing in that, yes, as an aid, you would have superhuman knowledge. You would be able to, say, with Wikipedia, you just look it up and, so there was none of that kind of looking on your phone, but it's instant. You've got it all there in your brain. However,
imagine that.
If that fails or if you take that out, what then are you left with? Are you left with the human who's not been taught to think critically because they've constantly had the information just available to them? So where does their knowledge come from?
I was going to say, though, would the same thing apply to a machine? Because if all you were doing was accessing information instantly, the machine wouldn't be thinking critically either, would it? It would just be drawing on information instantly. It would look like it was pondering the question.
Yeah.
But you could argue that the machine itself would not be capable of critical thought.
So this is where we're talking again. You would have either a narrow AI net,
I'd prefer to think, hopefully, that it would be more individualistic, or would it be a hive mind?
Well, you'd hope, but I mean,
because you've got the two, right? So if you've got a chip in your brain, which essentially has just got like Wikipedia, right, or you've got a chip in your brain and you've got Jarvis, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about now.
I want to ask Jeeves.
You want to ask Jeeves. You want essentially the Google.
Yeah.
The Google's lesser known brother.
Yeah. MSN Messenger.
So when you've got like the Neuralink, what you're having in there is it they've just got the information, so you're still thinking for yourself.
Have to search for it.
You
so it's
readily
available.
You've got all the information that we know in the world at your in your brain.
Also,
are we thinking critically ourselves, or do you have a general intelligence that is telling you what you should be thinking?
Well, the elephant in the room is as well in terms of neural network, and we're talking about critical thinking, we're talking about people's intelligence. The controversial fact of the matter is, some people just aren't intelligent.
Yeah.
And on an individual basis...
That being controversial is true.
Well, it's just that, we live in an age when we talk about how everyone's capable of everything, everyone are equal. No, clearly not everyone is equal.
Yeah, some people are just born stupid.
Are thick as shit.
Yeah.
And you wonder whether how much a neural network, all it will be like to those people is giving them an internet browser. That's all it'll be the equivalent of to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they
won't
like,
here's Google.
Yeah. It won't give them any advantages if they have no intelligence or critical thought.
Yeah. If they have no need for it or
no, that's what they'd think, wouldn't it?
To take advantage
of
this
what you're
type
at now anyway, because if the kids nowadays are using ChatGPT in the classrooms, or the technology in the classrooms, are they using their ability to think?
I don't think they are.
Are they using, or are they being able to be taught that stuff, or are they just using...
Well, is it a tool or is it taking over? I suppose the same debate was probably had when they introduced pocket calculators into the classroom.
Yeah.
People probably said, are you working it out yourself or are you just using the calculator?
Well, I don't know about you, but we used to have abacuses.
Oh.
We did in primary school. You?
Yeah. We did have calculators as well, but we weren't allowed to use them.
Oh, was the abacus for maths? I just used to like the pretty coloured beads. I just went like that.
Now they're just toys for kids.
Yeah. No.
While drooling.
Yeah.
Just casually licking the window on the break.
He kept licking the beads, so he kept rolling around.
So
why is it wet?
What's 6 times 5, John? Huh?
You're giving again.
It's all right.
So I think we've got an issue with education.
Oh, massively! I think
and how much AI helps that
But I think it's not just the AI. I think we're not being taught what we actually need to be taught in the lessons.
Yeah.
In classrooms.
I personally don't think we should have any technology in class. I do think we should have AI tutors, individuals.
You shouldn't be allowed to use your phone in the classroom, definitely not.
No, and that might be where I'm... So, yes, you should have AI teachers or assistant teachers, right?
That'd be cool. I want a super battle droid.
But then... which adapts to your style of learning.
Yeah.
However, I don't think we should allow the social media side of crap into the... They shouldn't have phones.
No, kids shouldn't have... Social media is...
To be fair, kids...
Social media should be banned from schools.
There is a study that says that kids shouldn't have any kind of screen time until they're...
I agree.
It rots your brain.
In the teenage
I
years.
agree. Unfortunately... It's at a very young age now. I mean, my nephew was glued to a screen, tablet, phone. From the age of 4 or 5, he's glued to it. He's 7 now. And the thing is, that's not just him. It's all of them.
Yeah.
And it is... don't get me wrong.
You breed a nation of people that can't even sit down and eat a meal together. They need to have a video playing so they can eat their food. You can't just have a conversation with people.
No.
You can't sit down,
do you know what
interact with people. And this is why we have so much of the anxiety disorders and things like this.
Yes.
Because you need some kind of screen in front of you to be able to have any kind of feeling anymore.
Yeah, it's like we're forgetting, especially like you were saying that they make them differently now. We were talking earlier about how kids nowadays react to films that we would have watched in the 80s. Like, Andrew, you were making the point how an 80s kids film is, wow, nowadays you show it to a kid, it's Scallon for life. Don't get me wrong, my generation and Andrew's generation, we did watch stuff we shouldn't have, granted.
RoboCop.
RoboCop, Commander. But, granted, but still, the films that... I would argue that the films we watched were... They didn't treat you like you were a kid. It was like... They were quite adult in their themes.
Yeah,
and a lot of kids nowadays watch that and they're like, it's too dark for them.
Films now have to have, or not all, but the audience, I think, now has to be spoon-fed.
Spoon-fed.
Yeah, massively.
Yes, spoon-fed.
You need to be
story.
like, oh, this is where we're going with this.
Yes.
Just in case you're not sure.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out because
instead of what we would be treated like we're assuming that they're intelligent because so
we were treated as
you've got subtlety within films you go do they mean this or do they mean that, and that is the point in that it's making you think about
exactly. Now case in point, like when I was 11, 12 and I first saw Alien and fell in love with it and watched it countless times, how many modern 11 or 12 year olds would sit down and watch a slow burning film for which not much happens for the first 50 minutes and is all about atmospheric tension and world building? How many 11 to 12 year olds now would sit and watch that and appreciate it? Not many.
No.
Yeah, but it's like the TikTok 2 seconds.
2 second attention span.
At most you get a minute and you're thinking, no, I want to scroll on to the next one, and scroll on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and next.
I think we all know someone like that who does that. Yeah.
Because with my ADHD, mine's not the hyperactive. Like, it's predominantly inattentive. But if I find something interesting, I focus on that. Like, I'm laser focused.
I was like that at school. I couldn't learn something unless I was interested.
And with with films and TV, I will be laser focused. Like, their house could be burning down, and I'll be watching that.
Andrew's like that meme of the dog sat in the burning kitchen, and he's looking at a film screen. This is fine.
And when people are like, if people talk to me during a film, I hate it. Yeah. I'm like, they go, oh, what's happening next? Shut up! You know as much as I do. Let's watch the film.
Me off.
Yes, it winds me up. It winds me up to hell.
And then when
I find mums are the worst for that.
When people,
why did he do that? Why has he gone there? Are you watching the same thing?
Yeah, I've not seen it either, mum.
I'm just gonna pause it in to the toilet. And
have you ever had to?
Could you not prepare yourself before you watch?
Yes, and not only that, have you watched a film with someone before where you find yourself having to pause it and explain it to them?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, right, at this point, is there any point in watching this?
Clearly one of us isn't watching this film.
Yeah. I had this trouble with
when you're showing someone a movie, someone's watching it for the first time, you've already seen it, and they're like, but what does that mean? And I'm like, watch the film, they're about to answer that question.
Yeah.
I remember watching Bond films with...
Stop being so...
With friends and people in my life, I remember watching Bond films, and it was just like, and I love Bond, but someone's not watching it or interested. Every 5 seconds,
they should be laughing.
Well, there's that. They're not laughing at the constant double entendres, but no, they'd be saying things like, "Why is he in Morocco? What's he doing there?" Well, if you'd watched that, you would have explained that he picked up a lead, which led him every 5 seconds. Well, what's he doing in Libya? I was like, "Are you watching the same thing?" Yeah, it does my head in. Just say you're not watching it.
Yeah.
But yes, I think we've covered lots of interesting topics there.
Yeah, I think it's been a bit of an everywhere episode.
Yeah. But I like those.
Yeah.
The chaos.
Fun.
Yes.
Chaotic.
I do. I find pleasure in the chaos.
Yeah.
What is it? Dark Knight. We're on about chaos. I'm an agent of chaos.
Oh, like Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
You think darkness is
No, not Bane.
No, I know.
Where he's like,
every time I hear the Dark Knight, it just makes me...
The voice of Bane. And I watched that again not so long ago, Dark Knight Rises. And don't you think Bane's entire character was just... Wasn't it sad to find out he was just a cook?
He was a cook.
Right at the end, he was just like... simping for somebody.
Yeah.
Really.
Because I was like, what, he's cooking what?
Yeah, first I was like,
he was just a celebrity chef.
I don't remember seeing him.
I don't remember the what.
It turned out he just had a cooking program. And I loved his character up until the point I realised he was simping for her, and I thought, yeah, you're weak.
But the whole thing of like Bane is completely different in the movies than what he actually is in the comics. In the comics, he's injected with this serum and this gas type stuff, and he breathes it in, and it's a whole thing that mutates his body. That's why he looks how he does. That's why he wears the mask and all the other bits. And in the movie, he was just like, I'm a buff guy.
Well, in the movie, it was because he was torn apart by a mob of people who wanted to kill her when she was a girl.
Yeah,
that's all I got. And that
don't get me wrong, it was a good film, and Tom Hardy was really good at it.
Yes, he was.
But the character wasn't what it was. What it should have been.
He could have been better. Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's a fantastic note to leave this episode on. We've covered a lot of.
We put the world to rights
today. Put the world to rights. Fuck them all.
Everyone's thick. AI is going to kill us, and Bigfoot's real.
Soon. Bigfoot's real, and
according to John,
Bigfoot's real. Yeah. So thank you for watching this episode. We'd like to invite you to like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you want us to talk about anything you personally care about, anything like that.
Please fist the like button.
Yeah, fist in the like button, hard and fast. And we'll see you in the next video.
Goodbye.